Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Bronte. I'm the Customer Experience and Content Lead here at Thrive. We've come today to discuss, obviously, Learning at Work Week. It was a pivotal day in the L&D industry, and I am joined today by two absolute experts in the field. So I'm joined by Mark and Helen from Campaign for Learning, the organisers behind Learning at Work Week. So I'll just let them say a little introduction and hello. So Mark, let's start with you, and then if you want to hand over to Helen.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, my name's Mark McDonough. I'm the Senior Digital and Web Manager here, and I support Learning at Work Week through looking at campaigns and how people can get the most out of that Learning at Work Week. Over to you, Helen.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, I'm Helen Oakes and I'm the Learning and Development Manager at NCFE.
Amazing. Thank you both. I've got a bit of an agenda here, which I'll just run through quickly before we kind of get started. So we obviously just did instructions. Then we'll be looking at why, I guess, we have collaborated with the organisers behind Learning at Work Week. We'll look at the history of Learning at Work Week, so how it came about, what the purpose is now. We'll also dive into, very excitingly, this year's theme, and then also the 3 strands of Learning at Work Week as well. We'll then move on to kind of what good looks like, campaign approach and looking into your audiences. We'll talk about building and sustaining momentum as well, and a bit on leadership buy-in and why that is so important in weeks like this and just in general to create a learning culture. Then we'll move on to the tools and recognition that we provide at Thrive for our customers, but also what support you can get from Learning at Work Week. And excitingly, we'll end on the Impact Awards as well. This year, Thrive and Campaign for Learning have come together with obviously a shared passion for learning. That's what brings us all here, but to also provide kind of organizations with a structured roadmap to make this year's campaign hopefully the best one yet. At Thrive, we work with our customers on so many campaigns throughout the year, but we always find that Learning at Work Week, people just want to go above and beyond and set the scene for the year. And that's what really is great about this campaign. It's kind of a strategic anchor for engagement for the rest of the year to help people feel empowered to learn and share and grow beyond the week as well. So yeah, let's go back to, I guess, how the week came about, what it's all about, and a look into the theme. So Helen, I'll pass over to you for this one.
Thanks, Francie. So Learning at Work Week started back in 1999, and it's really evolved through the years into the unique and well-recognised national learning campaign that it is today. Learning at Work Week helps organisations highlight the value of lifelong learning, and it really promotes skills development through personal and professional growth. The campaign really empowers teams to design learning experiences that fit with their own context and within their own organisation. So whether that's through workshops, it could be talks, mentoring, social learning, or perhaps digital learning opportunities within their own workplace. And over the past decade, workplace learning has seen such a significant shift. So there's been a huge growth in digital and hybrid learning models. There's been an increased emphasis on social learning, so using things like peer networks and knowledge sharing platforms, and then a much greater focus on inclusion, so ensuring that learning is really accessible and meaningful for everyone. So Learning at Work Week has adapted alongside those trends, and now we offer templates, guides, tools, thematic frameworks and that help organisations really run impactful learning campaigns year after year. So the theme for 2026 is many ways to learn, and it encourages organisations to explore the different ways people can learn and build skills while celebrating the diversity of learning. So things to consider when you're building your campaigns are inclusivity. So the themes help organisations design learning opportunities that address different needs and motivations, and really importantly, considering different barriers people have to learning. It also includes flexibility and interpretation. So what I mean by that is that organisations can shape the theme to their own business priorities, or perhaps combine it with one of the 3 activity strands, which I'll run through in a moment. And then finally, varied learning methods. So really thinking about anything from social learning, coaching, maybe micro experiments, shadowing, or using online resources. And also you could include some formal courses too. But we're really encouraging teams to think creatively, which ensures that the theme can then be translated into practical, engaging and inclusive activities that really resonate with that broad audience across organisations. So I'll just quickly run through the 3 strands. So Campaign for Learning define 3 different strands that help organisations structure their Learning at Work Week activity. And these strands support different dimensions of learning and can be used either individually or you could combine them. And this year they are Learn to Learn, Learn for Life, and Learn for Work. So if I run through Learn to Learn, this really focuses on building confidence as learners. It's about understanding personal motivation and barriers to learning, and it also helps individuals identify how they best learn, but really importantly, highlighting the variety of available learning styles and formats that fit individuals. The second theme, Learn for Life, supports personal development beyond core job skills. So it considers things like well-being, resilience, life skills, and also covers broader interests that might enrich an employee's personal life too. And then the final theme is Learn for Work, and this focuses on professional skills development, things like upskilling and reskilling, and also you could consider role-specific or cross-functional learning that supports organisational goals and knowledge. And then together these strands encourage that rounded, holistic approach to lifelong learning and help organisations create a varied, high-impact Learning at Work Week schedule tailored to your own organisation and its needs.
I just want to say this year's theme is my absolute favourite yet. I guess it's the reason behind everything we do in the Thrive content team, creating content that people actually want to learn and the way they want to learn it as well. And I think that's so important to have that kind of diversity and accessibility piece and honoring how people learn. For me, I'm definitely not a desk-bound learner. Like, I would much rather listen to a podcast out on a walk or watch a quick video on something. So yeah, I absolutely love this theme. I know our customers are loving the theme as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really good point of ensuring you use the correct channels, the correct tactics for the audience that you're trying to capture as well. Just showing my screen here. So in terms of what we mean by a campaign approach. So what we're specifically looking at here is a series of activities that we're going to use to market a new or a change in a product or a service. So essentially, we're taking that kind of marketing campaign approach and we are applying it to Learning at Work Week. The usual features that we see in a campaign approach is an overarching theme, and this is linked with different elements and activities that are delivered over a certain time period. So in this case, if we're following Learning at Work Week or over that week, or you could change that to over a month, depending on what you're wanting to achieve and in the time scales, and which all kinds of hangs together to tell an entire story. So some of the kind of benefits for using this approach in learning and development is it gives enhanced focus and opportunities to build momentum on a specific learning need that you can identify. Different and multiple opportunities to deliver messages to engage with colleagues in different activities, which can really embed and enforce values and learning in different formats and across different channels. Opportunities to rebrand learning and development and raise its profile using a creative approach. Challenge some assumptions, whether those assumptions lie at a senior level with the learning development team or within employees within the organization, and also reframe thinking around learning, and also opportunities to test new learning approaches as well as part of a campaign. So there might be times where you want to try something new and this is the opportunity to do that. So what does this planning look like? So there's a planning cycle we've got here, and the learning campaigns flow plan, and you can see that on the right hand side here. So I just want to talk about each of these. Really important, linking your campaign to a business objective or a strategy that you may have, and you can see that in the top right hand corner. So you really need to kind of start with that, thinking about business drivers, the goals, maybe some opportunities and challenges that you have in the business, and then that can plug in to your learning goals and campaign objectives. As well as the business drivers, you can also include research into that. So taking your business drivers, combining that with research that either you've done as a learning team or maybe your senior managers have fed back, taking those two elements and putting down clear learning goals and campaign objectives, taking those and creating a strategy of what that looks like, and then moving on to the tactics of how that would be delivered, which channels you would use and what the content would be. Creating an action plan of what that would look like, and then evaluate. And it's like all good cycles, it goes back to kind of that research, and you can use the learning that you've got from the evaluation to plug that back into the research to see how that has driven either business goals, any opportunities, or any challenges that you might have. Little top tip on here is to create a planning team. So include people across the organization, have somebody that's going to lead that planning team, but try and get people involved from different departments and also different levels as well. Really important throughout this whole cycle is thinking about how you can demonstrate the impact of what you're doing. How can you demonstrate the impact either on the learner, on the department, or on the organization as a whole? And it's really good to keep an eye out on that impact, and how every step you are taking during this planning cycle is recording that impact, and how you're measuring that. Just to show you, this can easily be done in a little template. So it's taken that cycle, and this is a great template that you can download from the Learning at Work Week website. You can print it out, and it's really good to use in a group session where you can print it out and distribute it amongst people. And then what you can do is you can go through and you can see how these are all connected. So using the research and your business drivers, your goals and challenges, feeding into your learning objectives and campaign objectives, moving across to strategy, tactics, actions, and then evaluation. Really good template to use, not just at the start of your planning, but also throughout delivery as well. So this can be used, it can be referenced, and you can update it as you go along. What's really important is to think about what will drive your learning campaign. So on this slide, we've just got a few examples of what may be driving your learning campaign. So starting at the top is employee development needs. So you can do some research in terms of organisation-wide surveys, getting feedback from staff appraisals, managers, feedback and requests. Looking at your learning and development plan that you've got, and also looking for feedback through learning and development teams and champions. So it might be that you're focused on purely employee development needs. You could be focused on groups and surveys on learning. So looking at things like barriers and motivators for learning and learning at work. And you'll be amazed when you start asking people what motivates them to learn, but also importantly, what are the barriers? And if barriers are identified, how you can use your strategy or your tactics in the previous template to overcome those barriers. Focusing on specific needs of managers, wider learning aspirations, that can then plug into the overall strategy. Obviously, business goals, values, plans and policies. So this might be looking at customer satisfaction levels, looking at things like environmental policies, communicating with customers, productivity. So there's a lot of different things you can cover in that area. Another important area is any business opportunities that you may think of, launching new products, launching new brandings, any new partnerships that you've got, and any networking opportunities. The other one, just to finish off there, is business challenges. So do you have a business challenge around employee engagement? Are your teams working in silos, maybe remote working? Is there a lot of waste and inefficiencies, health and safety and well-being, all of that kind of thing? So what you really need to do is, when you're thinking about your campaign, is what will drive this campaign, and then once you have that kind of goal of what's driving it, what can fall out from that as well. I just want to give a few examples of what's driving learning campaigns from previous organisations who've taken part in Learning at Work Week. So we've got URS was looking at increased cross-selling. So their approach was to bring different departments together, and that was done, you can see from the pictures, from internal meetings, but also they had a bit of a cook-off as well to get people together, to get colleagues to communicate and talk to each other. We've got Thomas Cook, and what they wanted to do to drive their learning campaign was reaching retail colleagues. So you can imagine with Thomas Cook, the shops that they've got, and what they wanted to do was see how they could really engage with people at the coal face. And they decided to use they set up a Facebook page that was only open to their employees, and they had Facebook Live to communicate a lot of the learning that was taking place. Balfour Beatty focused on engaging colleagues with career development and growth, and that was all about pairing up senior people with more junior people across the organisation and bringing those two groups together so they could learn off each other and get more engagement and look at how people wanted to develop their careers through that mixture of senior and junior people. And Edge Hill University was looking at being digitally confident and capable. Again, bringing people across the organisation with different skill sets so people could learn off each other, but doing that in a very relaxed atmosphere. So it wasn't like a classroom, which often can be a barrier to learning, especially if somebody's had a bad experience at like school, for example. But having that that policy of no question is a stupid question, let's open everything out and let's see how many colleagues we can get together to learn and to get as much as they could out of it. So the thing that I just, obviously as part of your strategy, you've got a lot of different key elements, and one of the ones that I wanted to talk about was just segmentation and really understanding your workplace audience, which I think is really important. So there's a couple of points just to mention here is thinking about your audience geographically is where are they located. So if people are, for example, if they're working from home, or you've got hybrid model, or you've got many offices across the country, or you've maybe got a building site where you've got people who don't have access to technology as they're doing the job, how are you going to engage with them, and how you're going to get the message out of them? Thinking about demographics around gender and income as well. So where are they currently in life, and are we ensuring that we're covering everything that they would want from the learning that we're offering, the function and role that they do, to ensure that we're encouraging and covering different job functionalities, the level that they're at, so any kind of responsibilities that they're for, and also the kind of the lifestyle that they've got. So thinking about those kind of interests, the values and behaviors that your audience may have. And this can change over time, and it's understanding them to then develop what tactics you would use for them to get the most out of the training, but also for you to reach them as well. And I think that's really important. Segmentation gives you kind of a starting point of how you would approach those learners and support the learning while people are at work as well. So you can look at things like talent development and engagement and diversity and inclusion as well. I think one of the things that's really important to mention here, and there's a couple there on the bullet points on the slide, is life stages. So thinking about the people that you're trying to target is whereabouts are they in life? Are they just become parents? Is this their first job? Are they near retirement? Looking for those teachable moments for each of those different demographics is really going to help and engage with them as well. Thinking about their aspirations and ambitions and where they want to be. I just want to finish on a final slide just to kind of demonstrate, hopefully once you've kind of gone through all of that and you've got your tactics of coming up with a plan. And you can see here we've got a plan that's been pulled together that shows all the opportunities. And what they've done here is, and you can see the key at the top, is it tells you what kind of staff it is suitable for. So if you look at that orange icon, that is suitable for all staff. staff, but they've also identified if it's suitable for a certain type of audience. Very clear on who should be involved, the activities that are there, and also the dates and times where things are happening. So something as simple as that can really illustrate very easily all that work that you've put in to then deliver a really successful week of learning. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. You covered some really important points there. And it's a lot of the things that you mentioned what we do when we support our customers. And we look at things like the planning cycle, for example, putting together that plan, and especially segmentation. Like a lot of our customers will have some people working like hospitality, for example. You have some people working in office, some people working behind a bar, some people working in labs. Like you have to think about the audiences. So yeah, you're totally right. And you also mentioned at the beginning around momentum, which was kind of going to be the next thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit. How do you build momentum? You've kind of talked through there, but how do you sustain it so it's not just another kind of themed week? Because we all know there is a lot of campaigns that can be done. There is an ever-growing list of campaigns. So how do we make sure that, past Learning at Work week, people actually still feel empowered to learn? For us, a successful campaign is when it feels human and collaborative, and it's about connection rather than, I guess, just a corporate broadcast. So I've also got a couple of examples. The first example is not from Learning at Work week, but just from another campaign to kind of give a bit of a different perspective. But one of our customers, Sodexo, used one of our templates that we made for Pride Month, which was all about talking about your sexuality, opening up about when people first came out, what their experiences was with it. And Sodexo had loads of people throughout the company kind of fill this out and share their personal stories. And in doing that, they created that deep connection that I was just on about when we see successful campaigns, and the engagement levels here were really high. And then another example is Westerly Group, who took part in Learning at Work week last year. So I'll just play this quick video and then I'll chat a little bit about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle from Westerly Group. We've been using Thrive content for over a year now and have just recently celebrated our 1-year anniversary of using the platform as well. As we gear up for this year's Learning at Work week activities, the Thrive team have asked me to look back at last year's campaign and why it was such a success for us. As many of you will remember, last year's theme was all about connection, and that really aligned with our goal of driving a social learning culture here at Westerly Group. At the heart of our Learning at Work week campaign were short interviews with colleagues sharing their hidden talents and passion projects and how these had unexpectedly helped them at work too. A couple of weeks before the campaign itself, we posted a call out on Thrive asking colleagues to share their secret skills or passion projects. We were blown away with over 40 responses, which is quite a lot for a small organisation like ours. Not only did this give us plenty of stories to feature, it also helped create that sense of connection before the campaign even began. And to make it even more fun, we created a TV-style guide so everyone knew when to tune in for the interviews. We also created a virtual tip jar where we asked colleagues to share small tips, tricks, or life hacks that help them succeed or stay organised. Contributions and comments flowed in throughout the week, creating a really useful hub of ideas for everybody to use. To keep the momentum going, we shared some of Thrive's content, such as Learning to Learn and Learning in the Flow of Work, helping colleagues to understand how to fit development seamlessly into their day-to-day tasks. These practical takeaways kept the energy of the week going and encouraged continuous learning. We're really excited to build on the success of last year with this year's theme, Many Ways to Learn. With Thrive's resources and the sense of connection we nurtured last year, we can't wait to see what this year brings.
That's the lovely Danielle just talking about what they did last year for Learning at Work week and how they sustained that momentum, which is obviously what I was just talking about. One of the social learning activities they did was called Curiosity Connect, where they had people reach out to other people in other departments and connected with them, learned something new. And as you can see, they obviously had a great week, and we're working with them now on what they're doing for this year's Learning at Work week campaign. Just before I move on, I wanted to mention as well, something that can make a campaign really successful that we've seen is senior leadership buy-in. Campaigns that do really well have senior leaders driving that social learning from the get-go, getting them involved in the planning process, like you were talking about, Mark. And I think it can really make such a difference because it gives people the psychological permission to actually not just learn, but spend time learning. And I think that top-down validation is what truly cements a learning culture. My advice is get those senior leaders involved. I mean, we've seen it loads here in Thrive as well. Our senior leaders, they celebrate each other's wins, they share knowledge, but more powerfully, they can share their challenges as well. And it just completely changes the dynamic. That vulnerability that they show means that people feel encouraged to do the exact same. And let's move on to, I guess, the tools. I'll talk a little bit about what we offer at Thrive, kind of gone through a little bit of it, but then also what the Learning at Work Week team offer too. So at Thrive, we work alongside our customers a little bit like that planning cycle you were talking about, Mark. So we provide our own Learning at Work Week campaign that is based on the theme that you guys provide and the strands as well. So we provide activities that people can do. We essentially do all the heavy lifting. We do all the planning for you so that, customers can kind of actually focus on what matters. So yeah, we do activities, that curated content pathways, which Danielle was just talking about. We also have kind of custom banners, videos, and internal comms support. So really just that full package to help bring our customers' Learning at Work Week campaign to life. And then from a Learning at Work Week perspective and what you guys offer at Campaign for Learning, Mark, are you the best person to talk to about this?
Yeah, definitely. So we do have a number of resources that are all located on the Learning at Work Week website. And one of the best things is it's completely free. So you can join the campaign and access all the resources, like I say, on the Learning at Work Week website. And we've put together planning resources and graphics so you don't have to start anything from scratch. If you go on the website, you can visit the Get Started page, and that's when you can sign up to our newsletter, fill in the registration form to let us know that you're taking part. And once you've registered, you'll start receiving free tips and being able to kind of access everything that you need for your Learning at Work Week. To help and support you, we've also got Plan Your Week section that contains things like planning guides. It's got quick idea generator, so you put some information in it and it generates some ideas for you. And it's great if you're just looking for something that's very simple and just to get you kind of creative head on and started thinking. You can also download all the logos and assets for the 2026 campaign, again to help you start building your plans. And also what we've got on there as well is if you do need some inspiration from maybe other organisations, we've got a list of all the events around the country that's telling you what's happened, what's happening this year, but also what happened last year as well. And if you do want to be featured in the 2026 list, then please just give us a shout and we'll add your details onto the website.
Amazing. Thanks, Mark. And we've talked a lot about, I guess, Learning at Work Week from a digital perspective, but you can certainly do stuff in person, right? Like I've attended Learning at Work Week with quite a lot of customers, one of which was Green King, and they had loads of stands out in their head office, and they had people come down and talk to us as a content provider, but also give suggestions for their learning styles to help kind of build that picture of how the organization learns, and just a massive celebration throughout the week. And yeah, I love in-person stuff as well. So just wanted to mention that. But the most exciting part for me, and I cannot wait to get some of our customers involved in this, but it's the Learning at Work Week Impact Award. So you can see some of the comments there from previous judges, and you've got the different awards on the left-hand side here. At Thrive, we absolutely love shouting about the success of our customers, and especially when it comes to campaigns. But Mark, do you want to talk us through a little bit more about what these impact awards are and how people can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. The Impact Awards for this year are launching in May, and these awards are all about celebrating bold and impactful Learning at Week campaigns across the country. It's free to enter, and it's open to any organisation, big or small, to run an event as part of Learning at Work Week. All the information of how to enter, criteria, etc. can be found on the Learning at Work Week website, and we encourage as many people and many organisations to participate. So please get your entry in. Thank you.
Amazing, thanks. Yeah, I actually was on the website this morning just kind of looking at last year's winners and what they did. So if anyone wants any inspiration, head over there and have a look, because it's really cool. Amazing. Well, that kind of wraps up today's webinar. So I just wanted to obviously say I hope you've enjoyed it, and a massive thank you to yourself, Helen, and yourself, Mark, for joining me to talk about all things Learning at Work Week. I was so excited for this collaboration. It's really great to see it come to life. And I'm sure on behalf of both of you, I can say we're all really excited to see what campaigns come out of this year. And hopefully everyone knows where to go for support. Thanks both.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.